Henry Kingston walks into his office with the aura of power and charisma. His presence never failed to impress the onlookers. He has inherited beautiful facial features and worked on his body to be in perfect shape that made him stand out in a crowd. The office is chaotic today as their boss has been awarded Influential Young Billionaire of the Year by the prestigious Success magazine. Samson Smith, senior executive, congratulated him with a huge bouquet on behalf of the entire Kingston employees. Henry took the flowers with a smile. "We are very happy and proud of you, Mr. Kingston." "Thank you, Mr. Smith," said Henry and smiled at some employees who wished him on the way. He got into the elevator and hit the top floor to his office. The reception to his office is well lit and designed with aesthetics. The floor is adorned by white marbles with golden veins, the extravagant furnitures, timeless wall paintings matching the white-gold theme giving royal vibes to the office. The side walls has golden panels lined with a bold Kingston Corporation. He entered his office, followed by his secretary Miss J. Jones. She read out his schedule for the day and asked his date for an interview from a renowned business channel. He gave out a date in the week, and other instructions. Working for him is not as tough as it looks if you understood how he works. All he expects is to follow his notes and update him on time, not to talk much or appear in front of him unless asked for. Henry is a man of few words, so Ms. J took the cue to leave. She just nodded at him and disappeared to her cubicle. In the finance floor, Mr. Sampson had a meeting with his department colleagues. He briefed about the quarterly budget proposal, which went on for an hour, and asked Miss Juliet Rosanna, one of his favorite subordinates, who was scribbling on her notes, to forward the minutes of the meeting to Mr. Kingston's office. Her face suddenly lit up. Juliet always had an undying urge to visit the much-gossiped top floor, which had a beautiful ambience custom-made as per Mr. Kingston's taste. Her colleague once mentioned that to enter the top floor, you need a code approved from his office. Miss Juliet's face fell as her dream just popped like a bubble, because the files will be sent only through office boy. She kept walking absent-mindedly, and her friend Chelsea, who is known for her friendly prattling with everyone in the office, stood in front of her. Julie bumped on her. "Who the?" Chelsea laughed at Juliet. "Your honorable friend." Julie did not realize that she has slipped her files in the accident. Chelsea looked confused while picking up the files from the floor. "What's up with you, Julie?" She did not answer. Chelsea suddenly remembered, "You know, something. I wished our boss in the morning." He returned it with a ravishing smile. "You won't believe I stood there like a fool for half a minute. Hey, are you even listening?" Juliet replied with a "Tell me, why are you so upset?" asked Chelsea. Julie told her that she wanted to go to the top floor to check out the boss' artistic office, but not to be caught in action. Chelsea said, "Who doesn't want to?" "Wish I was this lucky office boy," said Julie. "Do you think he can get an easy access?" "No, he just have to deposit files in the cabin near the stairs, where his secretary picks them up later. There is no receptionist too." "Oh, it sounds so creepy, but why? Is there any mystery?" "I don't think so. He basically doesn't like people loitering around during his work hours, so they have a biometric lock system to the floor, and the code is changed frequently for security reasons." Julie said, "Poor secretary, all she got to see is the four walls, how boring," and him, winked Chelsea. "Getting to this overrated top floor and meeting our enigmatic boss is our new target. Let's see who is lucky enough to do it first." "Deal," they laughed in unison. On an unusual note, luck is on Julie's favor today. Mr. Smith sent a mail mentioning her one-on-one meeting with the boss regarding the files that were sent earlier, along with the code and time of the meeting. She is dumbstruck for a minute, unable to process the contents of the mail, which was in a basic language. She called Chelsea immediately to discuss this emergency. Chelsea is shocked as well when she saw the mail herself. "Does Mr. Smith pranks you by any chance?" Julie replied, "No." She checked the watch and it's only 10 minutes left for the meeting. Chelsea alerted her, "Don't be late, who knows, he may fire you." Usually CEO are known to be punctuality freaks. Julie started panicking. No, 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 I don't think I am helping you. Sorry, Julie, I think he may have some clarifications on the financial statements that we have discussed earlier which you can manage to answer. Okay, don't be nervous. He won't eat you. Come on, Julie, get going. Our boss is a very considerate man, she motivated her. Julie's heart throbbed with its highest strength possible, anticipating the meeting with the boss. Julie garnered all her confidence and made it to the top floor. Her undying interest of exploring the top floor, her deal with Chelsea, all has jumped out the window, and her mind is clogged with how to turn back and run away from this meeting. The nervousness is killing her. Still, she punched the code and waited for the door to open. The door opened to a grand scene like a historical movie. The jaw-dropping Julie stood there in awe, looking at the white wall-to-floor marble with golden streaks. Screaming richness, the shimmering chandelier adds royalty to the multimillionaire's office. Julie thought this place is not overrated. No doubt, the boss has a great sense of taste in decor, looking at the embellishments of this floor. The architects have used various centuries' notable architectural styles. Miss J walked out of her cubicle and informed Julie that the boss has been waiting at his office for the meeting. The anxiety started creeping inside her. She took a deep breath and knocked on his door. A strong manly voice said, "Get in." She took a long breath and entered. "Good evening, Mr. Kingston, I am Juliet Rosanna from Finance." He was in his three-piece gray suit from what brand who knows, or custom made by the ace designer, XX or ZZ. He had that invisible aura like a spell, everything about him speaks class dignity. Watching him this close make her admire him even more, just by his mere presence. In this lavish office, she can understand his inevitable reputation in the business world. He smiled gently and motioned her to sit. He was flipping the pages from the file. She was expecting some deep financial questions for which she has been rehearsing the meeting that held earlier. "How long have you been working here?" "That's out of the syllabus," reminded her mind. She blinked twice and twitched her brows. Her brain is buffering at the odd time today. He waited for her to calculate and respond. He turned to his laptop and with a few clicks, he replied, 2.5 years with 6 months of internship. She managed to nod her head. She could not understand the purpose of this meeting yet. "So working for the Kingstons, your salary is not sufficient to meet your basic needs?" He paused, "so that roughly translates you are not happy working here." What the F? She stopped mid-sentence, realizing what she said to the boss. "I am sorry, Mr. Kingston." She covered her mouth in embarrassment. "When did I tell all this?" thought Julie. She don't like the way the conversation is taking, getting a bad vibe that she's going to be fired today. Her palms getting damp out of panic. Suddenly she felt the air around her getting hot. "Mr. Kingston, this is definitely a big misunderstanding. I completely love my job, I have always given my best for the company, and I don't have any complaints about my pay. I am happy working here, please change your mind," she said in one breath. She knows that she has blabbered without thinking, as her mind is trying to bring out events related to her displeasure in working for the company, but came up with nothing. Then why does he thinks that I am not happy working here? How does her day turned out this horrible suddenly? Her forehead starts to perspirate as if she had run a marathon, so is her heartbeat. Henry observed her for a minute and gave her some time to collect her thoughts and relax. He offered her a glass of water, sensing her anxiety. She drank it quickly and placed the glass on the table. Henry stood up and walked around. Immediately she started getting up. He ushered her to sit and talked in a gentle voice. "Miss Juliet Rosanna, sir." "Yes, Ms. Rosanna, relax, we are not discussing your termination here today." "All right, if I am not wrong. Are you the one referred by Senior Professor Mr. Hemsworth himself from Stanford?" I nodded. "Interesting, why finance?" Julie said, "Sir, I have a great liking for financial mathematics. I believe a trading or any business can be managed by applying mathematical formulas and theories to solve the financial complications, taking up calculative risks, drawing out fiscal policies, marketing data analysis for better insight into any business proposals for capitalizing investment decisions." Discussing about her area of expertise is a cakewalk for her. He sensed her passion for finance. Out of nowhere, he asked, "Are you into sketching, Mr. Kingston?" "You heard it right, Ms. Rosanna." She replied in a doubtful voice, "I do when I am bored." He raised his eyebrows on her reply. To her utter shock, he asked, "What is your favorite lingerie brand?" She choked on her own saliva. She was baffled to give any reply. "If we know, it would be easy to allocate funds and salary accordingly." She was sitting there like watching Korean drama without subtitles. To her rescue, there was a knock and his secretary entered, reminding him about the virtual meeting that has been scheduled. He asked her to connect the call. "Okay, Miss Rosanna, you may leave, always double-check a file before forwarding." She rushed out in a swish as if escaped from the lion's den. Juliet walked in a daze. Chelsea is equally thrilled about this iconic meeting, so she was waiting in her cubicle. As she could not contain her curiosity, she pulled her to the corner to inquire about the meeting with the boss. Both of them discussed the entire conversation but cannot solve the mystery. Juliet cannot sleep that night. The scene kept replaying in her mind. The purpose behind this meeting is still an unsolved puzzle that bugged her mind. After lots of tossing and turning, she slept for a few hours. She woke up little tired, washed up, left for the office without minding about having breakfast. Noah, her colleague, who was on leave yesterday, was discussing about the department meeting with Mr. Smith. Noah asked Juliet for the notes and she started rummaging her bag for her notes, only then she realized her notes were missing. After a few minutes of thinking, she believed that the notes files must have mixed up yesterday while she hit Chelsea and the notes must have landed on the file sent to the boss. She felt like the entire hall face palmed with her. She covered her face in embarrassment. "I screwed up big time." Chelsea pulled her away and asked her what's wrong. Julie explained, "I was bored during the budget meeting, so I was doodling a bikini model, calculating how these quarterly budget funds can be used for increasing the salary of the employees, and it would help me going for lingerie shopping and a vacation to Miami Beach. I also scribbled a small personal budget for the trip." Shit, now I get it. He has seen my notes, so he asked me all those irrelevant questions about my favorite lingerie brand, pay scale. Wish the ground opens up and swallows me, else I would die of embarrassment. How am I gonna survive in this office like before? What would the boss be thinking about me? I told him that I would draw when I am bored. Fuck, I dug my own grave, feel like slapping myself for being so stupid. Chelsea listened to my prattling quietly, because no one can save me from this shit, I know. After a minute or two, Chelsea said, "Listen, Julie, as I already said, our boss is a considerate man for too many reasons. 1, he did not fire you in the instant. 2, he did not reprimand you even. 3, he just warned you to send a double-checked file without making it a big scene for being inattentive in a meeting." Once she listed out the reasons, I should have felt better, but no, I felt even more embarrassed for being so irresponsible and sloppy at work, especially in the meeting that I always wanted to be attentive, organized and do justice to the role I take up from childhood. I had made it a habit to work with dedication, finishing up works on time. Planning beforehand would give a clarity confidence. So being attentive is very normal for me from school days, but how did I slip this time? I am not exactly a perfectionist, but try to work better so no one finds fault in me. Chelsea convinced me that when I meet him the next time, I shall apologize and settle my heart by giving a closure to this issue. But when do I meet him? He is not Mr. Smith, who is just a door away. You can walk in any time and discuss anything casually. He is like your favorite teacher. He is such a friendly boss, unlike the Henry Kingston, CEO of Kingston Corporation. He looks casual, but it's kinda intimidating to be around him. All I could think was, I would have felt better if he had yelled at me. Now that he just made it sound like Sunday is a holiday, it eats my head up. But why didn't he shout at me? Isn't it a big deal, or is it me who is blowing this out of proportion? The whole way back home I was rehearsing what to say him if I meet him accidentally the next day. The next morning when I reached office, my mission to meet him was my top priority. That I stopped by the parking lot where his car was parked, went around thinking ways to put a note somewhere that I'm sorry for being sloppy in the meeting and I would never repeat this ever. But gave up this idea. thinking it would be inappropriate, tried sneaking into top floor to meet him with the hope that the code is still the same. To my utter disappointment, the code has been changed. All I am trying to do here is to clarify him that I am not a worthless employee because I love this job and it is an honor to be recruited after my internship. No one gets into Kingston Corporation that easily. I don't want him to have a bad picture of me. At the end of the day I was too tired and sulking. Chelsea and Noah tried to cheer me up, but I cannot easily get this out of my mind. So they decided to take me out as it's Saturday. The night lights in the club is all neon, it is clearly setting up party mood. That I was in no mood for clubbing when they came to pick me up, but now that blues are fading away slowly once I set foot on the club. High Rome Club is usually less crowded as it is not in the downtown, with light music and entertainment activities. Chelsea ordered, 2 tequila, for us, martini for you Noah. Yeah, to start with, he chuckled. You're not definitely getting drunk tonight, why not? Asked Noah. Forgot our bet. You are supposed to win me in the pool game, reminded Julie. That is why exactly he is trying to get drunk and escape from embarrassment, joked Chelsea. Julie basically challenges herself to win games based on strategy and precision. She outplays Noah most of the times. It was actually the reason why Chelsea and Noah wanted to bring Julie here tonight, to take her mind off of the issue she is magnifying unnecessarily. They knew she makes sure she does her job flawlessly, so she's not questioned it by anyone as she has set an excessively high personal standards and overly critical self-evaluation. She cannot satiate her own mind that is constantly nagging her for slipping from her biggest trait of being a perfectionist. They took few shots and got to the pool room. They have started off well and it's a tie game where Noah is equally competitive. People started gathering around and took sides to cheer them. On the side of the club, Lisa Hudson, a known name in showbiz, walked in her knee-length bodycon and ankle-strap heels. She hugged Ryan and Henry in the private glass lounge, with a view of the entertainment activities happening in the High Rome Club downstairs. Ryan and Lisa are colleagues in the new ad project, so he invited her for a drink. Henry and Ryan are friends from high school. Hey Lisa, this is Henry Kings. Stop it. Ryan, who doesn't know him, the most influential young handsome billionaire leading the prestigious Kingston empire, she winked. Henry laughed aloud seeing Ryan's face. Sorry, my friend, I didn't intend to pop your pumpkin-sized ego, but, he laughed again. Just shut up, man. Lisa, what do you like to have? Ryan asked. Anything, said Lisa, looking at the pool game from the glass. Henry and Lisa started talking about random stuffs where Ryan was keen on the game. I bet this girl is gonna lose, but she was leading initially. The other two averted their gaze to the game. The boys like betting. Henry, who occasionally got a glimpse of the game, knew she is a calculative player. Ryan had his bet on Noah, who is on the lead now. Still, Henry felt the girl would score against him, sensing her game tactics. Noah lost his turn in foul. She executed a skillful jump shot and won the game. Ryan screamed, "It's a foul," Henry explained, "Watch out, man. Not all jump shots are foul." She struck the cue ball down into the table, causing it to bounce. If only you scoop it up with a cue, it's a foul. Ryan took out a stack of currency and thrust in Henry's hand. Lisa and Henry cannot stop laughing at Ryan's poker face. Julie, you are amazing, Chelsea congratulated her. Noah is also happy that Julie's focus has changed. Alcohol has started kicking in for Julie and she has wanted to use the loo. She came out and walked past men's washroom. While walking she corrected her hair, looking at the glass door. Henry walked out and both of them were dumbstruck at their proximity. Up close Mr. Kingston looked ethereal, his scent was intoxicating. Julie was in a dreamy state, not knowing either the drink or Mr. Kingston effect. Henry asked, "Are you stalking me, miss?" Julie cleared her head. All day she was trying to apologize for the past incident. But shocked at his new accusation. "Why would I stalk my boss? I am no fool." "Mr. Kingston, I don't get it." According to security records, 2 unsuccessful attempts to enter my office and 1 attempt of checking out my car in the parking. Now you are here. What do you call this? Julie could not help but curse her fate for giving her a double blow. "Sir, you are mistaken." She was cut off by Lisa. "Hey there, you sexy player." Julie was like, "The what?" She didn't know what to respond to this ambiguous remark. Henry gave a puzzled look on Lisa's comment. Lisa, laughing at their expression, said she's the one that just made a chaos in the pool game and earned him a fortune in the bet against Ryan. Henry could not believe that both women were same. He mentally compared their dresses, their physical features, and concluded they are same. Julie couldn't be more happy, knowing that her boss had won a bet on her game. Before they could say anything, Lisa waved goodbye to Julie and pulled Henry to the lounge. Julie returned to the booth thinking deeply where her friends were busy discussing something. Upon seeing her face, they asked what's up. She explained the meeting with the boss and his new accusation he had on her about stalking him. They both face-palmed at once. Chelsea said, "We thought it would be a diversion if you play pool, but you got into next trouble. Definitely your luck is playing a dirty game on you." She added, "If it's too serious, boss would call you for an explanation. That way you could get a chance to explain yourself. You don't have to stalk him anymore." Julie cringed at the word stalking. She never intended to do that, but it turned out to be exactly that. But Chelsea has a point here. They were all tired and called it a night. It's Sunday morning. Julie thought to relax by watching some movie, do laundry in the evening. She received a mail from the boss himself, "Meet me at my office first thing in the morning," followed by the code. The mail seems to be short and crisp but took away all her peace. The Sunday kept dragging and she cannot relax a single minute, thinking about the mail and the outcome of it. Julie tried to pull a determined face. She entered his office after knocking. The storm inside her mind is making her lose balance. But showing weakness is not going to help her today. She greeted her boss and waited for his reply. After about half a minute, he gave her a file. Her fingers started shaking, knowing her termination letter is being served to her, but the least she expected was some explanation before firing her. Still, her mind kept telling that her boss is not an inconsiderate man. Contradicting thoughts were running inside her mind. Seeing her zoned-out form, Henry called out, "Ms. July, please sit down, read this project proposal and give your opinion." She looked at him as if he has grown two horns. He snapped in front of her and gestured her to read. She cleared her thoughts and started reading the file. She could still not come in terms with the situation as she was so confident that she will be fired that day. She could not focus on the file. She just needed a moment away from his scorching gaze so she could get back to the business. Looks like her prayers has been answered. Henry's phone ringed. He picked up the call and walked away. She just breathed a sigh of relief. "So I'm not losing this job today, thank God. Now he has summoned me for some business. I need to prove him that I am worthy of this job, as the past few days I have been self-loathing about being pictured as inadequate and incompetent employee, also failed to clear the misunderstanding. Now after all the chaos, the boss still conferred this project to me, which shows the magnanimity of the boss. One thing I learned today is all of his accolades are no joke. Getting to this respectable position at this young age, definitely need a superficial vision to understand the minds of people and situations ahead. He must be well aware of the outcomes of his actions, multiple consequences of his decision. Humongous responsibilities, so much more would be running in his mind. If he has given me this project file to read and give my opinion, all I need to do is just do what he says. I have started making notes of some key points to mention. About 15 minutes later he came back to his seat and waited for me to talk about the project. "Mr. Kingston, the project is not viable." He's definitely surprised at my one line, raising his eyebrows said, "Why so?" "The project cost is extremely high and reading the outline of this project looks like the Kingston does not deserve to be involved in this mundane project." Henry replied, "But it is a close tender and only limited companies have been sent invitation to participate by the government. On a courtesy note, Kingston tender should definitely be in the draw. Why don't you prepare a basic budget plan and fund allocation for this convention center project?" Mr. Kingston, if we are proposing a budget and participating in the tender, then we are doing it as a standalone tender. You just said it's not viable, of course. I don't go back on my words, Mr. Kingston. With the project report that I analyzed, it has very meager particulars to decide. If we get better insights, we can work on various attributes to make it viable. Well, how do you plan to get good idea of this project? He asked. Sir, shall we visit the site along with other technical persons? Henry asked. Who do you think you need? A structural engineer, architect and a realtor for now. He called Miss J and given names to get ready for the on-site visit. Julie was happy knowing Mr. Smith would join them too, as it would make her comfortable to work around known people. She still feels that she is not experienced for this project, but with Mr. Smith's guidance she could do a better job. Maybe that's the reason Mr. Kingston has brought him too. She took the project file, her notes, and followed him. They all boarded the company vehicle and reached the site. Mr. Kingston also reached the site in his Maybach Accelero. They walked along the proposed site and discussed the project possibilities. They will have practical difficulties in the site, as there is an ill-maintained water body, a dump yard nearby, which makes the site really not suitable for this project. The structural cost will also be high due to the water body. Henry called out everyone and asked to work out the cost and get ready for the meeting by 4 that evening. Meeting hall was quiet and Mr. Smith entered and informed that Mr. Kingston would join them little later. Everyone relaxed and started discussing. Julie made note of the figures proposed. She worked out a rough budget and presented it to Mr. Smith. Julie could see a disappointment in his face. Mr. Smith said, Julie, do you think it's your best? I don't think Mr. Kingston will be happy too. Julie was taken aback. In all these years, observing Mr. Kingston, I would say he gets to the right person in getting certain job done. When he asks you for the budget proposal, he sees the potential in you, which you may not be aware of, or rather I would say untapped. You would realize it sooner or later. Now about this project, think beyond the boundaries. The tender holds the name, the Kingston. Understand your responsibility and work on it. Mr. Kingston would already have worked the cost in his mind when he gave you this file. Now get back to work and come up with the best. Mr. Smith announced that Mr. Kingston has rescheduled this meeting for tomorrow post-lunch. You can take each other's numbers and work as a group. This is a prestigious project. On account of Mr. Kingston's new honor as influential young billionaire, he may also be considered for the post of youth ambassador for promoting new start-up business in our country, rather than youths looking for jobs overseas. Thus this project holds utmost importance in bringing laurels to our boss and Kingston Corporation, keeping in mind the reputation of the company and gratitude towards our boss who looks after our welfare. We need to make an impressive presentation tomorrow. I expect you all to give your optimum for this project. Mr. Smith has been associated with the Kingstons since long time. He knew about the company, working culture, Mr. Kingston expectation, the probable ways to motivate the employees get the job done. Julie along with Chelsea and Noah was discussing the improvements to the proposal. Paul, the structural engineer who came to the site yesterday, has also joined them. He is a young and energetic person who has a sound knowledge in construction. Julie finds him easy to approach and have a positive working vibe around him. They all move to the conference room waiting for Mr. Kingston to arrive. Julie is hopeful that Mr. Smith approves her efforts this time, took her file and explained her ideas. Before he could react, Mr. Kingston entered and the room suddenly fell silent. To ease the tension, he smiled at everyone from the head of the table. So how does the proposal came out? Ms. Rosanna, are you ready? Sir, here is the file we have prepared. After a few minutes of silent reading, he closed the file with a thud. Everyone felt the shock pass through them like current. Julie could feel the color drain from her face. $950 million for this project? The numbers are too big. Paul, how much is the construction cost of Marina Bay Sands in Singapore? Paul replied, Sir, around $5.7 billion, and what about World Trade Center and Burj Khalifa? $3. $9 billion and $1.5 billion approximately, sir. Now let's analyze these buildings, their construction and purposes. After an hour of discussion, everyone understood Mr. Kingston's perspective and expectations. This is just a convention center project, but with the limited land resource, we are going to construct a notable landmark that attracts global attention. What are the additions you could bring in to make it a happening place? Julie suggested, "Sir, the water body is going to be a big nuisance to our project. Why don't we convert it into a recreational place with water activities like light show, kids boating, kayaking, flyboarding or such similar activities? We can also think about commercial complex. Gaming zones," said Angela from architecture. "Sir, if we aim at world-class convention center, it should cater the people across the globe who would be visiting. We can plan for a cultural center that celebrates the local culture, festivals, art museum." Paul added, "Bringing in foods from different parts of the world would be a great attraction too." Julie stated, "We can have a charity center to promote all forms of music, art, magic, dance of street performers by providing them a platform to perform. Its produce shall go to the performers' charity equally, so that there will be audience who will be willing to watch donate, also it becomes a happening place." Mr. Smith beamed at Julie. The brainstorming session became more active and Henry aimed at bringing such environment to the meeting. He gave a small smile to Mr. Smith, who observed him too. "All right, the ideas you have all come up with are commendable. Now with already quoted project cost, blend in all the extra amenities." "What?" everyone said in one voice. Henry held out a laugh. "Sir, it's impossible." Julie expressed her shock. Paul intervened saying, "Sir, we can apply for procuring the dump yard, the barren lands beside the allocated site for the amenities we are planning, but the cost would increase considerably. Now Ms. Rosanna, the costs you have worked are market rates, but this is a government project, you get subsidies, so reduce 10% on it." "Okay, sir, and about the profit percent, slash it to 4% from 15%, sir, how is that even possible?" "Like I said, it's a government project. We would get various concessions, tax benefits and royalty fees. We won't work for zero benefits, Ms. Rosanna," he smiled. Henry gave the other details to work out the project cost. When she finally gave the figures to Henry, it turned out to be $730 million. Everyone was so happy. Henry stood up, "Let's wind up today. I appreciate each one of you for your contribution, keep working with great zeal." Henry took out a form and gave it to Smith saying, "Mr. Smith, fill out this tender form and send it to my office." Mr. Smith knew that Mr. Kingston will not settle for $730 million. "Mr. Kingston, what is the quotation price?" Everyone in the room stopped doing what they were doing and looked at him in confusion because the meeting was all about the cost of the project and it was just discussed for hours. Their frozen forms has been released with Henry's little louder than usual voice, $650 million. Henry winked at Mr. Smith playfully and walked out. Mr. Smith could not contain his smile when he saw everyone's eyes literally popped out hearing the tender price. "They have started talking among themselves like bees." Mr. Smith called out Julie to his office. Mr. Smith gave out the details and Julie carefully filled the form. He then asked her to take it to the boss for approval. Julie could not stop herself from asking, "Mr. Smith, like how? 730 and 650 is not a small difference, it's impossible." Mr. Smith smiled, "It is possible for Kingston's." "Julie, you must know that Mr. Kingston has his ways." He sighed. "Henry is an interesting businessman, just like his mother. If you observe him, you cannot stop admiring his working style." He had a warm smile spread across his face, thinking about some old memory maybe. Julie realized that beyond Mr. Kingston, it's Henry, for Mr. Smith. Julie took the tender form to Mr. Kingston's office. Once he rechecked and gave his approval, he asked, "Miss July, Jones has been sent off for a business, can you just scan the form and forward it to this mail?" "Definitely, sir." After the on-site visit and today's meeting, Julie is getting used to his intimidating aura. Basically, he is not an arrogant person, but people hesitate because he is the CEO of the Kingston Corporation. "You can take that laptop," pointing to the side table in his office. "There is a scanner behind you." She took 2 extra copies of the tender form, typed the minutes of the meeting referring her notes and filed them with the label, Convention Center Project. 2023 she asked, "Sir, should I give this to Ms. Jones, or to keep it in file cabinet?" He looked surprised. "File cabinet. I have took one more copy for Finance Department reference. Good Miss July. Mr. Kingston, with your permission I would like to clarify a few things, may I?" "Go ahead." She started off hesitantly. "Sir, my name is Juliet and at times you have mispronounced it as July, oh." "All right, next," said Henry. There was a knock on the door. His security officer, Mr. Ben, carried a bouquet in a goodies hamper. "Sir, this is from Miss Lisa Hudson." "Okay, leave it here." He looked at the flowers with a light smile and turned back to me. "Yes, Miss Juliet," with a stress on the last syllable of my name. I smiled and continued, "I sincerely apologize for doodling during the meeting. I have never been sluggish in a meeting and I promise I won't repeat it ever. It was so bad that just literally ate my head, which eventually made me look out for you the next day to apologize for my behavior and convey that I am happy working here, always proud of being recruited after internship. Breath, sir, also working under Mr. Smith is a privilege where he always look out for us like a father figure, gives us freedom to explore, learn and grow in our career. He is a great mentor. Sir, actually I was sulking about this and annoying my friends, so they took me to High Rome as a diversion. Because pool is our favorite leisure activity. We never knew you would be there. That day in office I was planning to apologize either by putting a note on your car or come in person to clear the mess that I made. I have a great respect for you. I have never or ever will stalk you, Mr. Kingston." Julie finally felt light, as if a heavy burden has been lifted off her shoulders. Done. She doesn't want to take away any more of his time. She just nodded her head. "But I guess you have something more, sir, about the tender." She paused. He was waiting for her to proceed. "Mr. Kingston, I do not know if I can ask, but it's seriously bugging me. How is it possible with $650 million? He was amused by this topic. "The credit goes to you, Miss Juliet." "Sir, you are joking." I mean sorry, Mr. Kingston." She suddenly realized whom she's talking with. "Actually that's the fact, Ms. Juliet. The charity ingredient you have proposed is a brilliant idea. There is a special clause for tenders where we can claim government funding for charity segments in a project." "Well done." He extended his hand. My brain froze for a second, then slowly moved my hand to shake hands with the boss, the Henry Kingston. My heart flutters like crazy for reasons I don't know. But I felt like I have grown few inches in pride. His hand was warm and soft. This 2 seconds of handshake would stay in my mind rent-free for life. Also, the construction materials we are procuring from our unit and some from our subsidiary companies. That's how we are going to execute this project within the budget, if we get this tender, that I mouthed while listening to him. "Sir, since Miss Jones is not here, do you want me to get you anything?" He thought for a few seconds. I have a virtual meeting shortly. Can you get me a cup of coffee?" "Sure, sir." "Strong? Black, half sugar?" I nodded and walked towards the pantry. The place was well stocked. She switched on the coffee machine and gave inputs. Meanwhile, she took 2 slices of bread, put it on the toaster. She opened the small refrigerator and found lettuce, tomato and cream cheese. When the bread is ready, she made the sandwich with simple ingredients. Took out 2 bowls and filled them with nuts and cookies. Who knows what he eats with coffee? She expected that the meeting may last long, so prepared him this little snack tray along with the coffee. The coffee aroma filled the room. She brought the tray to his table and placed it next to Miss Lisa's bouquet. He was pleasantly surprised, like a kid looking at the candy shop. Considering the brightness in his eyes, it seems like he is hungry, but forgot to realize it amidst his tiring work schedule. "Mr. Kingston, I did not know your food preferences. So I have made a simple sandwich and a few snacks with the coffee. Basically, the coffee drinkers have a customized ratio and never accept otherwise, so I was a little anxious when he came around, sipping his coffee. I was looking at his face for some reaction. "The coffee is good." I breathe out a relaxed sigh. Looking at the snack tray, he smiled, very thoughtful. The Kingston recruitments never fails to pick the smart ones that brought the brightest smile in Julie's face. He shook hands with her one more time today. Julie felt like flying. He walked to the file cabinet and picked the file that she has just placed. Can I find a different doodle art today in this file too? She blushed in embarrassment. Sir, I will never daydream or doodle in any meeting. I cannot say whether he was joking or giving me a warning. As I was looking down, I heard his laugh and gaped at him unabashedly. You can take leave, Miss Juliet. Good night, Mr. Kingston. She closed the door and left with a smile.